Join us today as we discuss helpful information regarding the latest in hearing care loss. Mike Valenza of Abingdon's Fall Plaza Hearing Center in Abingdon, Virginia, along with his patients and staff, discuss the latest in hearing aid technology and the important factors regarding hearing loss.
We're here at the Falls Plaza Hearing Center in Abingdon, Virginia. Let's go in and meet the staff and talk to the patients about the services they provide for better hearing. Why did you decide to come to Falls Plaza Hearing Center?
Well, we know how important hearing is, and we wanted more than some of those just cheap bargain prices. When you're shopping for shoes, bargain shopping's okay, but when it comes to your hearing, we wanted the very best for my dad, so we came to Falls Plaza Hearing Center.
What was your experience like when you first came to Falls Plaza Hearing Center?
Well, once we talked my dad into coming to Falls Plaza and doing something about his hearing loss, we were surprised at the warm smiles and the greetings we got when we walked in the door. They made us feel perfectly at ease and like they were friends from way back.
When I walked in, I felt at home. They treated me like family.
What would you have to say to the people out there that are having hearing problems, that are afraid to go see someone about it?
Don't put off your hearing loss problem. Go see someone and have it looked at today. You don't know what you're missing until you have your hearing corrected. My dad was missing so much in the places he loved, church and other things that he couldn't hear. But now that it's corrected, he's getting back all those little joys that he was missing.
Hansel, now that you're hearing again, would you like to play a song for us?
I certainly would.
You know, my dad's been playing that song for me since I was a little girl, but due to hearing loss, he was ready to hang his guitar up. Then we went down to Falls Plaza Hearing Center. He was fitted with some new hearing aids.
And now I can hear what I'm playing.
So if you're having trouble hearing, go down to Falls Plaza.
See us today
for a free evaluation
and hear for yourself
in the Falls Plaza Professional Building.
Hi, I'm Kelly Haynes, hearing instrument specialist at Falls Plaza Hearing Center, and I'm here to talk today about some of the new features in hearing aids.
And I'm Lauren Esposito. I'm an audiologist at the Falls Plaza Hearing Center. And along with Kelly, we're going to talk about a few new features with hearing aids and also some of the services our practice can provide. So Kelly, kick us off and tell me, what's your favorite new feature with hearing aids right now?
Well, I love that hearing aids now have direct to iPhone streaming.
That really is a great feature. Sometimes when I bring that up to patients, they're a little unsure or hesitant about that. So can you break that down? What does direct to iPhone streaming mean?
All streaming means is that when you get a phone call, the sound goes into your ears directly through your hearing aids once we've paired it to your iPhone, so you don't even have to put the phone up to your ear anymore.
It's really awesome. Most of my patients with iPhones really love that direct to their hearing aid streaming. Now, what about for our more tech-savvy patients, the ones that might be a little more comfortable with their iPhones? What can we offer them?
For those patients, there's an app that you can download onto your iPhone or iPad if you don't have an iPhone that allows you to make volume changes and program changes to your hearing aids, or even request fine-tuning adjustments from us here in the office simply from your phone.
So whether you're at home or visiting your grandkids, having the ability to have adjustments made to your hearing aids without coming all the way into the office, that's a game changer.
It is, but now we don't want to leave out the folks without an iPhone. So without the iPhone or without the app, today's hearing aid technology is more advanced and smarter than ever.
Absolutely. For the most part, once we program your hearing aids, most people put them in and forget about them. They're not making adjustments to them all day long.
Yeah. So with all of the improvements in technology now, how does the patient decide what they need?
So that's something that our office thrives on, right? It's really important for both of us to really get a complete picture of each patient. And what I mean by that is really looking into that individual, figuring out what's important to them. Where do they want to hear better? Who are the people in their lives that they're having trouble communicating with? Once we can answer those questions, we can offer a strong recommendation as to which hearing aids would be the best for that person.
I agree. A lot of our patients come in and say that we have spent more time with them and asked them more questions so we could get to know them so we can make the good recommendations for them. Another area our patients value is our unique protection plan. So Lauren, can you explain that for us a little?
Sure. It's broken into 3 segments: verify, protect, and validate. In the first segment, verify, that's your first 60 days wearing hearing aids. That's your trial period, and we just want to verify that the hearing aids that you're wearing are appropriate. So making sure we're in the right style and the right technology level. Then we move into the protection phase. The hearing aids come with a 2 or 3 year factory warranty that covers repairs that need to be done on them, as well as a loss and damage policy. And we utilize those warranties to make sure that the hearing aids are working to their best ability for you. And then the last stage is validate. From day one, our staff is there for our patients through the whole thing. So whether people need to come in for adjustments or cleanings, they're never charged an office visit fee or anything like that. So most of our patients wear their hearing aids for about 5 years. So around that time, we like to reassess their hearing and their hearing needs to make sure that the devices that they're wearing are still appropriate and giving the most benefit.
To us in our office, an investment in hearing aids is more than just the hearing aids. So with our expertise and services, we can ensure that each patient receives the best care possible.
So I think we've answered a few questions that folks may have had about hearing aids and some of our services. And I hope that when you decide to take a step further into better hearing for yourself or your loved ones, you strongly consider our office.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Brian. For years I couldn't hear, so I went to Plaza and they fixed me up with hearing aids. And now that I can hear, I realize I need new mufflers for my truck. So if you have trouble hearing, go on down to Plaza and let them hook you up.
Voted #1 hearing center, Best of Bristol 2017.
See us today
For a free evaluation.
And hear for yourself.
In Abingdon, off Russell Road in the Falls Plaza Professional Building.
Okay, Sammy, let's go.
All right, we'd like to welcome Stan Lewis and his wife, Barbara, and Dewey McThenia and Ann Gilbert. They're joining us today to talk about their experiences with their hearing aids, hearing center, many different stories. And Barb, you were telling me a little while back about having to get Stan into the hearing center the first time. If you'd like to kind of let everyone know what that experience was like.
Well, his hearing had gotten so bad, but he didn't believe it, and I told him, I said, Stanley, I said, I think we need to go see Mike at Falls Plaza Hearing Center. I said, he was playing the TV so loud that I thought, Lord, he's going to burst my ears. And he said, oh no, I don't need to go see anybody about my hearing loss. He said, I can hear fine. He said, all you need to do is just speak up a little louder. And I thought, Lord, I can't talk any louder because I'm talking so loud now that everybody else can hear me, and I couldn't understand why he couldn't hear me. And then the TV was playing so loud that I thought, well, even he was going to wake the neighbors up if they were home. And so we went to see Mike, and one thing I liked about Mike was that he had taken his time with Stanley, and he was concerned about, I thought he was concerned about his patients, and he wanted to do the best for them. And so Stanley says, no, I don't need to go see him. He says, I'm not going to pay the price to go see him. And I said, well, if you don't, I will. And so we went to see Mike, and so Mike was very understanding, and he took his time with him, and that's what I like so much about Mike.
Thanks, Barb. And Stan, you know, what was your experience when you came? If you can tell us, you know, how you felt.
Well, once I was tested and they was adjusted, my hearing was like another world. I think Falls Plaza Hearing Center.
Okay, so what's your experience? Because you're somewhat known in the area. We've had you on some commercials and whatnot. So how have you felt about, you know, your experience being on TV and whatnot?
Well, I just can't thank you enough for the difference in my hearing now and what it was before.
Yeah. So do you have a lot of people that recognize you from the commercials?
Everywhere we go, they'll ask, and some of them need hearing, and we tell them to go to Falls Plaza. And we have cards a lot of times we'll give them if they take them, and I wish them the best.
Yeah. So can you tell us about the line that you're known for? And we might want to actually get you to say it here before we leave, since everyone seems to like that line. So,
well, these hearing aids are working so good, I believe I can hear that grass a-growing.
So how did you come up with that? What was it?
Well, I guess when I was maybe in my teens or a young man, my uncle had a farm, and he raised corn and stuff and sold it by the roadside. And he said that fertilizer was so good, he said he could hear that grass a-growing.
No, I never knew that. So it came from the fertilizer there. Interesting. Well, thanks, Stan. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And you know, Dewey and Ann, why don't we start with you? You know, just the same thing. What was your experience with Dewey?
Dewey didn't need a whole lot of persuasion because his hearing was so bad. And when we were dating, we talked about going down to Falls Plaza. And so we did, and we had a wonderful experience. And now he can hear a lot of things that maybe he shouldn't hear.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So you didn't have too much of a hard time getting him. And he was pretty much,
no trouble.
He knew he
He's
needed.
very docile.
You know, he needed something. So Dewey, I want to hear from you now. You can tell us about, you know, how you felt about getting hearing aids and what
This was the experience of my life, go down to Falls Plaza. Now I can hear. I can even hear the grass growing. We used to go down the street to Bristol. They didn't know me, see me on TV. Do you really hear that grass growing? I said, you need to listen close. Go on down and see Mike down at the Falls Plaza. He'll fix you right up. Used to, I thought I could hear. I couldn't hear nothing. Now, it's so good to be able to hear the birds and things that you need to hear. Some things you don't want to hear, so you can turn them off. But I'm so thankful for Mike getting my hearing straight.
Yeah. So with your hearing over the years, was it a long time that you had some hearing problems before you finally felt like you needed to? About how long did it take?
It's a long time. I was working in maintenance for the state, and I had this guy aggravate me. He'd mouth the words. Of course, I couldn't hear him mouthing the words. And I said, I'll fix that. I'll go get me some hearing aids down at Mike, and I did.
Yeah.
And I'm so thankful. And I'm thankful for the courtesy they show you when you go down there. And if you have a problem with, which I'll never have, they're willing to listen to you and so on and so forth. And they supply your batteries and your everything you need. But I'm thankful for the whole staff. Their politeness and their courtesy they show you when you walk in the door.
Well, thanks, Stu. I appreciate it. And Stan, I really didn't find out about how long you, or Barb, about how long you felt that you were struggling with your hearing, because we know you didn't initially want to admit that you were having a problem, but be honest about how, you know, had you really noticed it and just kind of wanted to not really,
well,
you know, yeah.
It'd been a couple years.
Yeah.
And I just said that she'd talk louder,
Yeah.
but that wasn't all the problem.
So you kind of knew that, yeah.
I knew I needed
Yeah, and that's what we experience from a lot of people that are getting hearing aids, is that the average time typically for someone before they do something, from the time they notice there's a problem, is about 7 or 8 years, typically.
I thank you and your staff, and I thank Barbara.
So sometimes it does take the wife or the husband to get in, you know,
that you have to do something.
as there is that course of those years that go by, and those are the frustrating times, and that's why you do it a lot for yourself, but you do it for your family too, you know,
That's
because
so true.
they're the ones that really have to live with it as much as you do, even sometimes more, because they are the ones that struggle and have to repeat things all the time.
Yes.
So, well, I appreciate both of you, you know, seeing us at the office. I think that the people that you meet when you come across them, we appreciate everything that you've done, and to continue to let people know that hearing aids may not be perfect, but they're a lot better than not hearing, and that's what it comes down to, the certain things in life that you shouldn't have to live without, you know, hearing your grandchildren, and just the everyday things that you do. If you don't have those things, you may tend to find yourself being isolated, where you don't do things sometimes because of a hearing loss. Had you experienced that, Stan or Dewey, where you may have, you know, avoided some things?
When I really couldn't hear without these hearing aids, I wanted to be by myself. I mean, you want to isolate yourself in, then want to go out, then want to do nothing. Now we go to a lot of things since I got these hearing aids.
What are some specific places that you can think of where it has really improved your hearing? Do you have any examples?
We hear music on Monday night. When I can hear every song, and it's good, you know. And we go to different places, restaurant, and you don't have to say, and you can order your stuff.
Auctions.
We go to auctions about every Friday. But we try not to buy nothing, but we can hear what they're saying.
You don't want to hear all those
anyway,
all those prices.
But they have been I'm so thankful for Mike and getting my hearing straight.
Yeah, thanks, Dewey. And how about you, Stan? Any specific places where you've noticed that the hearing aids have helped you, that you had problems with before?
Oh, yes. About every time she speaks.
So you really did it for Barbara there. You really did
selective hearing, so I needed those.
So you were definitely focused on Barbara. Well, I want to thank both of you for coming in today and talking to us, and we'll be back to talk more about hearing loss and hearing aid technology.
You know, my dad's been playing that song for me since I was a little girl. But due to hearing loss, he was ready to hang his guitar up. Then we went down to Falls Plaza Hearing Center. He was fitted with some new hearing aids.
And now I can hear what I'm playing.
So if you're having trouble hearing, go down to Falls Plaza.
See us today
for a free evaluation
and hear for yourself
in the Falls Plaza Professional Building.
Well, welcome back, everyone. I'd like to talk some now about hearing loss, and we'll also talk about hearing aids as well. First thing I want to talk about is hearing loss, and looking at how many people do have hearing loss. 1 out of 10 Americans have a hearing loss, up to 30 million people, and the majority are male. More men work in louder environments, which may affect their hearing over time. 3 in 10 people over the age of 60. And hearing loss, when we look at population, this is not exactly what the percentage is, but just the actual number of people that have hearing loss in the different age groups. And we can see that as we age, generally, more people do lose their hearing. It is something that can happen. It can be in your family, in your genes, also just from the everyday life of noise exposure. The fastest growing hearing loss, as far as the population goes, would be the baby boomers. About 15% experience some type of hearing loss. Only about 1 in 7 of those people actually wear hearing aids. And hearing loss generally occurs over time, and it can be gradual. It can sneak up on people. Many people, as we were talking earlier with Stan and whatnot, they might not even recognize that they have a hearing loss, or sometimes they do, but they really don't want to recognize it. And the brain can compensate for hearing loss for a while, but at a certain point, the hearing loss becomes more significant and it becomes much harder to compensate. And the importance of getting a hearing examination, by age 40, most people should have their hearing tested. The signs of hearing loss, these are all pretty basic. Most people have probably noticed many of these, especially if they live with someone that has a hearing loss. Problems with women and children, certainly their voices are higher pitched. Most people with hearing loss, they tend to miss the higher pitched frequencies, so they may notice that they're not hearing women and children as well. And watching people's lips as well is another big one. You may notice that if they're, especially in a noisy environment where they may be struggling more, they'll tend to look at the people's lips as they're talking. They may think that everyone's mumbling as well, maybe blaming the other people because they can't hear, but generally, it is one of those things that can sneak up over time. And the effects of untreated hearing loss, we were talking about that earlier as well. People may tend to isolate themselves, to not take part in the activities that maybe they used to, just simply because they're not hearing people in those types of situations. They may find themselves not going or even avoiding situations, and that can lead to a lot of psychological issues where they may be depressed if they're not doing the things that they normally do. That's why it is important to have your hearing tested, and if it is affecting your ability to socialize and to get out, it is very important to try hearing aids to see if they may be able to help you in that type of a situation. There's also many effects, and they're all very similar. You know, anger, stress, many different things can come from not being able to hear. And other people may not even realize why someone may be stressed out, or they may be, have a short temper. And it's simply because they get frustrated with not being able to communicate or to interact with people. It can affect everything from your job. If you have a job that's obviously very important to hear what people are saying, it could affect your performance on your job and your earning power as well. It could affect you getting a raise in a job. Certainly in personal relationships, obviously marriage would be at the top of that list, causing stress. And that can all add up over time to hurting any type of a relationship, including a marriage. Not hearing, obviously, the brain wants to get the information, and if you're not feeding the brain, it can lose the acuity over time, and there have been studies shown that that can affect how your brain functions. And we were talking about earlier, the average time between a person noticing a hearing loss and seeking help is about 8 years. So it takes some people a while to get in to the office, but I find that most people, once they do get hearing aids, they don't want to part with them because they do find that they really are important. So it takes 8 years to get in, but once they get them, you can't take them away from them. We were talking earlier somewhat about the causes of hearing loss. So there are many different causes. You know, noise exposure obviously is one of those that we would put at the top of the list for most people. And there are many others, as you see here. Age as well. A lot of time it's a combination of several of these that may go together. Aging is showing what the percentages are. And we see obviously that there is a higher percentage of hearing loss as we go. Males, as we discussed, tend to have more hearing loss than females. There are different reasons for that. Obviously, the type of work environment may be a factor, and the louder noise exposure that they may experience through those types of jobs, which, as we're looking at now, obviously, any type of job in a factory where you're having to work around loud machinery is going to be very much affecting your hearing. Loud music is another. Anytime you're doing any of these things, you would want to wear hearing protection. It is important that you protect your ears. Obviously, if you're shooting guns or running equipment, even in your yard, you would want to wear hearing protection for any types of those sort of loud noises that you may be exposing yourself to. Wax is another big one, obviously. It could be something simple like wax, and that's something that could be easily checked at an appointment, making sure that your ears are clear. That can affect your hearing as much as 30 to 40%. So very important to come to see your doctor or to come to a hearing center and at least have your ears looked at. Even if you're not ready for hearing aids, at least have your ears checked to see if there's any blockages in them. Head trauma, obviously being another one if you're in an accident. And many diseases as well may cause hearing loss. There are many strong drugs. This is something that you do also have to be careful of if you're taking anything, and they can also interact as well and affect your hearing, so you always want to be aware of those. Any type of a tumor on the auditory nerve can affect your hearing as well. There are people that may have hearing loss from birth, as we see. And the hearing system itself, obviously, this is the system that you're going to be hearing, and the ear, and your ear will bring the sound through from the outer ear, which is basically the part you see on the outside of your head and the ear canal, into your middle ear, which has the eardrum and the bones that attach behind the eardrum, and that will transmit the sound. If there's a problem in that area, you may experience some degree of hearing loss. That sound should be transmitted into the inner ear. This is where the nerve is. This is obviously the type of hearing loss that most people have as they work in loud environments. The sound from those environments can affect the inner ear in the hair cells in that region, and that will greatly affect and reduce the ability to understand. As the inner ear is affected, the sound is not transmitted into the brain and the nerve. And if that were to occur, most people working in those types of environments are going to experience hearing loss. It's important for any of these. If you do feel that you have a hearing loss, the most important thing is to get a complete hearing evaluation at an office. Not a hearing screening, not something where you're just snapping your thumbs, but you actually do want to have a full hearing evaluation in a sound booth. It's the best way to test your hearing, to get a baseline done, to make sure from that point on, if your hearing were to get worse, you have a baseline done and you can look back to see if there is a gradual decline.